You can't stop me now. Can't stop me now. My feet have come too far for you to tie 'em to the ground. You can't stop me now. Can't stop me now. Set my side, you turn it back around. You can't stop me.
Well, good evening and welcome to the Psychic Coffee Shop. I'm Aeson Knight, and with me tonight is Julie Hatch, who's a acupuncturist, studied Chinese medicine, and a mom with her new book, A Parenting Revolution. How are you, dear?
I'm doing great, Aeson. How are you? Nice to be here.
Good. So, what is it? What's new about parenting? I mean, you feed them, you dress them, you send them out in the yard and tell them to come back in when the lights go off.
That would be great. We should go back to that rather than micromanage and control and direct their lives.
Yeah, I mean,
a whole lot of anxiety in them. Yeah, open the door, let them go do their thing, and come back when it's feeding time.
Right.
But that's not how people do it.
No, that's not how people do it now. I mean, some high schoolers, I feel so sorry for them because I'm a planner, and their planners are busier than mine are. I'm like,
yeah.
What the heck have we done to our kids? They need like a second job just to get through school.
It's true. They're definitely overscheduled, and again, they're micromanaged, and they're pressured to do this activity and that activity. Is it going to look good on their college application or resumes or whatever it is? And it's I think it's kind of pushing them and emphasizing the wrong things in our kids. It's emphasizing the superficial parts of living and the superficial and materialistic parts of growing up, which is kind of too bad, and it's putting the emphasis in the wrong places, I think.
Yeah, I think it is too, because we also, I don't know, I think it's my generation that got inbred with that idea that everyone has to go to college, everyone needs a master's degree, no, some of them are just plumbers and mechanics, and let them carry greasy tools into your house, not textbooks.
Exactly. There is something for everybody, and college is not for everybody. Being a white collar worker is not for everybody. Being a lawyer, and society puts emphasis and value on those kinds of degrees and occupations and things like that. But that's not what it's not what everybody is cut out for. And
Right.
so my book talks a little bit about finding what your child is meant to be doing with themselves, not what you think they should be doing with themselves.
Mm-hmm. So where do you think we went wrong? Where do you think that we've started off going wrong?
I think that there's a lot of anxiety in kids and depression, but especially anxiety, and that comes from, I think, anxious parents. I think it's the parents live anxiously, and they express anxiety, and the kids pick up on it, and they learn that, oh, well, that's how you go through life, is anxious, which is kind of too bad. And again, I also think the parents are they're just putting a whole lot of pressure on kids, so much pressure that they just don't have a chance to live their life as a kid in a pre-adolescent and an adolescent. So I think that the anxiety that the parents come to the plate with and the pressure that they're putting on kids are two really problematic combinations.
Right. Oh, I think it's totally problematic. All right, let's talk some real talk. When do kids start school?
When do they start school? At like what age?
Yeah.
They start school usually around 5 or 6 years of age.
Yeah.
Well, you're right. That's a traditional education. There are kids that start school at the age of 1 or 2.
Yeah, and I'm like, what? You're going to, so they've got 18, 19 years. Well, when it's all done, about 19 years in school. I'm like, why are you doing that?
That's so true, because it's not I think that it doesn't do good things for their creativity. It just has them following a program, like you say, for 19 years. There's a very wealthy town north of Boston that people I think even before they get pregnant, but when they're pregnant, they go on the waiting list to go to this daycare preschool where they, at the ages of 2 and 3, are pretending that they're science professors and mathematicians and they dress up, and it's just the emphasis is just
It's
all
wrong.
wrong, I think.
Right. And I think it takes out the creativity, especially when we look at some of our brightest minds.
Yes.
Um, you know, the creator of Facebook, the creator of Windows, you
Yeah.
know, none of them have a master's degree. Most of them left college, flunked college, or didn't even go to college.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And they followed their passion, I think. And I don't know their life stories. I just know what the rest of us hear in the newspapers and media. But I think that they followed their passion. They were good at what they did, and to the hell with everybody else telling them what they're doing the wrong thing or they should be doing something otherwise.
Right. And they just kept doing it and, creating more and more.
Yeah, thinking outside the box is I think that we're losing some of that. It takes certain people like Elon Musk to think outside the box. And thinking outside the box is what's going to be progress and move us forward in the world, not just conforming and doing the same thing over and over, generation after generation.
Right. Well, it's like the school system. The current school system was actually designed to train factory workers,
Right.
create and make factory workers.
Yeah.
There ain't a lot of factory jobs anymore.
Nope, that's right. Times have changed, and we're still living back in that time.
So you also do one-on-one coaching. And did this book come out of that, or were you already working on this?
They sort of went hand in hand. I think I was told that if you want to do well at your business, you should have a book. But the book was just in me. The book came out. It was a message really that I wanted to put out there and had to get there. So whether it helps my business or doesn't help my business is beside the point. It's really my message and my passion to help kids. And the only way to help kids is to help the parents. I can't just directly work with kids. I have to work with the parents.
Yeah, you have to work with the adults.
That's right.
If you work with kids, you look at them and say, don't go to school if you don't want to. Clean your room, eat your vegetables.
Yeah.
Here's some ginger tea at 4 o'clock in the evening. And they'll look at you and go, okay.
Right? Exactly. Right. And I've done my thing. I have had 3 kids. But so the book really came out of, so I started my coaching. I've worked with kids. I've been in pediatrics my whole adult life. And my passion is kids. I really care about kids and I care about their future. So my coaching business stemmed from my work, from my studies in traditional Chinese medicine as an acupuncturist. And from the coaching, I guess the book, it's all mixed together. It's all the same thing. It all stems from traditional Chinese medicine. And part of it comes out as coaching, part of it comes out as a book, part of it comes out as a podcast I've been doing, all with the same kind of message about raising kids in a healthy, what I think is a healthier way.
Right. And that's the important, is a healthier way. Now, I have this philosophy. You are sometimes not the best parent for all ages of children.
Right.
I am great with children up to about 6.
Yeah.
Then I can take them back and deal with them again around 14, 15 after they've learned that no actually means no. And there's a reason why you don't put a penny in the socket.
Right. Yeah.
What about you? Which stage are you as a good?
I like the younger years, definitely before, from 0 to 7, 8, even 9. And I think 10, 11, 12, 13 is kind of hard. And then adolescence, what you do between 0 and 13 or 14 is going to make or break their adolescence. So adolescence can be really fun. Teenagers can be really fun, as long as they didn't get too messed up as young kids. But they're really cool in the way that they're on the brink of a whole new part of their life. And I equate adolescence as like a toddler where they are trying to get their independence. They want to get out into the world, but yet they still sort of need mom and dad. And so adolescents are just on the brink of getting out into their adulthood. And that's pretty cool to watch.
It is.
It's a little nail biting too, but it's cool.
No, honey, that's called the gel nail series. You get your nails done with the gel so you can't bite them off. I promise you, I've tried. It doesn't work. It'll cost you more at the dentist.
I need to do that.
So, one, helicopter parenting is bad. I have a viewpoint. I hate free range children.
You do. Tell me why.
Because they'll go into stores and they tear up things, and it's just like, oh, that's just Johnny being Johnny. And it's like, no, that was a display that took 3 days to put together.
Yeah. I wouldn't call that necessarily free range. Free range, I think, is when they're allowed to run around outside and come home when the lights come on.
Mm-hmm.
They Kids need to be taught manners,
Mm-hmm.
respect of other people and other people's property. They need to be taught what is okay and what is not okay.
Right.
But they also need to be given room and space and time to do that, not to
Yeah.
mess up a display, but to go out and run around. I
Mm-hmm.
tend to think that needs to be done outside in nature,
Mm-hmm.
or on a playground, but to let it out, let out
Yeah.
whatever it is. But there are times and places to
Mm-hmm.
behave.
Yeah. And to be little adults. And
Yeah,
that's something that I have done with all the children I've helped raise and all the children I've been influences. Don't care if you're 4, I'm going to talk to you like a mini adult.
yeah,
Your language you understand. And I tend to get a better respect out of the child. What's your response?
yeah. I agree with that. There was a quote. Well, for one thing, children live up to how we treat them and what we believe in them, and likewise, they'll also live down to what we believe in them. So yeah,
Hmm.
they're smarter than we give them credit for. They're capable of doing more than we give them credit for, I believe. So I agree with you that you and every kid's different. Some kids
Yeah.
are developmentally further along than others, never mind what their ages are. But
Hmm.
yeah, meet them on their level or higher, and they will
Hmm.
rise to the level that you treat them at
Hmm. So, what
sometimes.
parents is this book for?
This book actually is for parents who are aware of mindfulness and consciousness and aware of being aware.
Hmm.
It's not for the parents who I know, some of whom I know, um, really just are not that vested in their kids. They send them off to school, they send them off to the babysitter, they send them everywhere except for within their own
Hmm.
realm. So it's about parents who really are conscious and aware and mindful and aware of their kids and about
Right.
connecting with their kids and aware of themselves. And it's
Yeah. Getting more struggling and really wanting to raise up children,
yeah,
which is a big difference. I think that this book actually fills a good couple of niches, especially like with the metaphysical families and metaphysical children, um, and also like the pagan families that raise up kids. It's a different mindset, when you're discussing meditation and the law of three, and with a 5-year-old, they get it very easily.
they get it far better than a lot of adults do. And thank you. That what you just said is exactly the kind of people that would enjoy this book, I think.
Right. So let's take on some common mom struggles. Bedtime.
Okay, bedtime. So this book doesn't really get into how to make your child fall asleep or how to toilet train them.
Uh
But
huh.
so bedtime, I think, well, for one thing, sleep is really important in kids'
Hmm.
mental health. And so a bedtime routine is helpful. And again, it depends on what age you're talking about. But starting them young with bedtime routine, which I think is always good to include. And people are going to say, oh, yeah, right. I don't have time to do this, but that's your choice. A little bit of reading, spending some downtime, turning off all screens an hour before bedtime, no
Hmm.
screens in the bedroom at all,
Hmm.
and a bedtime routine, which I think should include reading or telling a story or singing songs or doing something where you just sort of come down out of the day, off the day, spend time together, and everyone starts to settle down. And, so that's my idea. And maybe that
Is
sounds
that a good
ideal.
time
And
to
I
put
know that
in some
kids don't always follow.
meditation?
Sorry.
Is that a good time to insert some meditation there,
Oh,
especially if they're
absolutely.
hyper?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. What about finding the what bigger struggles do you deal with?
Um, mostly people come to me because they're having their child's behavior is causing a problem at school or at home, or
Hmm.
the child is acting out or isn't behaving the way that the parents think that they should. Um, sometimes a lot of times I get concerned parents about anxiety in their kids, depression in their kids, but mostly it's behavioral. And what I try to help the parents understand is that, for one thing, behavior, depending on what it is a means of communicate. That's a means of the child is communicating something that is not feeling good in their world. Something is going wrong. It's causing them stress and discord, and they can't verbalize it. They don't know exactly what it is. But when they act out, when there's a behavior that isn't working, that is a cry for help. It's a cry saying something is wrong and I need help in figuring these feelings out, or this whatever's happening in my world out.
Right. And trying to figure it out from their perspective, which can be a very much puzzle piecing thing.
It sure can. Yes, it can.
You know,
Yep.
I had one little child, and he threw a fit every time sirens went off.
Yeah.
We never figured that out. But finally, we got him to calm down and get through it, and he just got used to it.
Yeah.
But, that's normally a sign of trauma and, or, abandonment issues. What's your thoughts on kids coming in with memory?
Coming in with memory?
Yeah, like memories of past lives or reincarnation or.
I haven't worked with kids with that stuff. I did read the book, The Boy Who Knew Too Much. Did you read that? And that really was a great book about reincarnation. I do believe that many of the kids that come into this world, their souls are a reincarnation, I guess. So they're just incarnating this new body of theirs, but it's there, but they do have souls. So I have not had any personal experience with kids having memories of, but absolutely, I'm sure that happens. And I wish that I had known way back when to pay attention to that in my own kids.
Yeah.
Because like I say, that book, The Boy Who Knew Too Much, and plus a couple others about reincarnation, really eye-opening and really mind-expanding and fascinating, I think. But I don't have enough experience to speak.
I was just wondering if you maybe covered some of that in Chinese medicine.
No, I didn't, or I did not learn that in Chinese medical school.
Okay. What about ADHD? It seems like every kid I see now has got that stamper, like stamped on their head, and I'm like, got a pile of bricks, put them on one side of your yard, let the kid carry them to the other side of the yard.
Yep, you're right. I think that a lot of it is, I'm just trying to put it into context with my book, is that there are different element types, and the element types are relate to their inner nature, who they are and they're born. And so ADHD kids with that label, they tend to be really active kids. They're competitive, they're outgoing, they're loud, and it's their nature, it's their true nature, it's what they're born with, it's the way that they are. And yes, the best way to, one of the best ways to handle it is to let them blow off this energy, whether it's carrying bricks, one pile, like you say, or move the pile of dirt from one side of the yard to the other side, whatever it takes to blow off the energy that they have, allow them to compete, allow them to do things that make them feel, express their wood nature or their, I just don't like the label of ADHD, but I know exactly what you're saying, hyperactivity or anything like that.
Well,
but
it's wood nature, then it's wood nature. It's treating it with that element. Now, you've got a quiz on your website, which I'm going to go ahead and throw out here, that you can go and see which elemental your child is.
Yep.
You've got a lot of other resources here for them, not just the book and how to connect with you for coaching. You have your own podcast up and your YouTube. So go ahead and go check out her website. What's your best advice for the single moms out there? Because a lot of stuff is mindset and set for a dual parenting household. And we have very few dual parenting households anymore.
Yeah. I think for single moms, I say find yourself some support, some other single moms, or doesn't even matter whether they're single moms or not, just some kind of other moms that are supportive. I remember talking with a friend of mine that when their kids were little, we thought we should form a a commune of mothers and maybe and fathers, but my husband was not very involved at all. Her husband was not involved very all. So just a bunch of single mothers or mothers where husbands aren't involved, a commune, and support each other and help each other out. That would be
Yeah.
hippie-ish,
Well, that's a
but really
lot like
good.
how I was raised. I was raised up in the church, and I had like 4 or 5 moms at a time.
Yeah, that's
Um,
great.
but I grew up in this, 70s and 80s, and if you got in trouble on one side of the street, by the time you got home, you were already in trouble even more so.
Yes. Yep.
And there was a lot of working together, and I see that falling apart now. We've moved into this single functioning lifestyle.
Yeah.
You get in your car, you leave your neighborhood, you drop your kid off at school, you go to work, you pick them up, you take them to this game, that game, this practice, that practice, this ballet, bring them back home, huddle over them as they're doing their homework, if they have homework. I don't know what happened to teachers with homework.
Yeah, there's less community definitely now.
Yeah.
Neighborhoods are not so neighborhoody. There's definitely less community. There's less support for and a lot of single mothers, a lot of even married mothers, a lot of mothers feel very alone. Like they have to figure this all out on their own, that they don't have support from other friends or other mothers, or God forbid you ask your mother-in-law or your own mother for advice. That's not what I'm suggesting, but I think the support from other moms is crucial. It's key. And it's beneficial not only for us but for the kids.
Yeah.
And like you say, having eyes out on your kids by all kinds of people in the community, whatever the community can possibly be, is great. Really helpful.
Right. And what I think is really bad right now is this keeping up with the Joneses mentality has moved into parenting.
Yeah.
Well, little Johnny's on the honor roll. Well, little Johnny's this, little Johnny's that. Why aren't you?
That's so damaging. That's so terrible. Even so keeping up with the Joneses, that is just, where's the individuality for your child? Where's what your child has to offer for him or herself? Never mind what the fact that he's not like the neighbor, he's not, and so maybe he's not like little Johnny in a certain way, but your child has so many other great qualities about them. We need to see the whole child, everything that they have to offer. And as an example, these movie stars, I guess they're movie stars, who bought their children's way into top colleges. That was sort of in the news back a couple of years ago.
Oh, yeah. Well, it just got settled.
Yes.
Yeah.
But what a terrible, that is just such a bad, horrible message for the kids, because it makes the kids feel like they can't get into college on their own, that they at that age, they need mom and dad to buy their way into. What a terrible message that is.
Exactly. And that one kid that, and I'm sorry, I don't know the names of the stars, but was on Lifetime all the time. That one kid who had a wonderful YouTube career going on, her mother wouldn't even recognize it. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
She has a wonderful YouTube. She doesn't need to be in college. She needs to be like, I don't know, testing out which Pop-Tart tastes the best.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely pressure to follow the conformity of
and to be that the accolade. I mean, I hear it all the time out of parents. I'm now starting to hear it out of the gay parents. Well, my child's going to such and such, and Johnny just graduated, and it's like,
yeah. Yep. And it's easy, I wouldn't say it's easy. It is easy to fall into, but it's not easy to keep up with.
Right.
And so I've gotten to know or worked with, not worked with, but gotten to know kind of in a professional sense, homeschooling mothers and what they do. And I just think that that's a beautiful way. Things that they do with their kids, it's not easy, obviously, by any means, but it's a beautiful way to raise your children, because they pay attention to the individuality of the child. They try to cater the day to so much more interesting than reading, writing, and arithmetic. It's much richer. And they also have a community. They have like-minded other homeschooling parents. And so that's sort of an interesting way that, especially with the way that school systems are going now, I think homeschooling is maybe I'm becoming more aware of it, or maybe it's becoming more
I
popular.
think it's becoming more aware. Of course, also that enables you to focus in on your child's strengths and your weaknesses. It's like
Yeah.
one of the homeschooling moms I watch on YouTube. She's teaching her 14-year-old physics now.
Yeah.
You won't
Ooh,
find that in a school anywhere in this country.
good for that mother for being able to to teach it. I don't think I'd be
Yeah.
able to do that.
I think she does it as part of her professional life,
Okay.
and the kid's got a built-in talent for it.
Yeah, perfect.
No, it's amazing what can be done in homeschooling. Now we talked about the wood elemental being very active and very much getting up and burning energy. What are the other elemental personalities?
There's fire, which are also very energetic, but they're really charismatic. They're people
Hmm.
kids, people.
Right.
Very charismatic. They love attention. They love performing. They like telling jokes. They like singing and dancing.
Hmm.
They're just like being the center of attention, and they like the new bright shiny objects. So they don't
Hmm.
they have a hard time. One of my kids is a fire child, and he has a hard time staying on track for one career or one
Hmm.
college or whatever, and he's off to doing this and trying that and that and that, and his path through life is going like this, and that's
Right.
fine. That's him. So that's fire. Then there's earth, who are peacemakers. They like
Hmm.
everything to be calm around them. They really don't like fighting and discord around them.
Hmm.
They also are people kids. They love their caretakers. They love their teachers. They love their friends. They don't like being the center of attention. But they like having people around them and being on the periphery and being sort of part of a group, but really just having people around them. And they're very loving. Um, they're like little Buddha, cute, lovable little kids. Then there are metal kids, and metal kids are um, they are very organized. They like not rituals, but they're organized. They like predictability. They like schedules. They like to know what to expect, and that keeps them really happy. They're almost a little bit OCD. They're like I say, they're organized. They like
Hmm.
puzzles. They like numbers, and
Hmm.
they like things in order.
Hmm.
And they also like they're very aware of right and wrong, and they believe that people should do right, and they try to
Right.
do right themselves, and if their friend over here is doing something really wrong, it bothers them.
Mm.
So they're one of my kids also was a metal, and didn't need a whole lot of discipline because he knew right from wrong, and he did not like to be punished. It's very demeaning, that very humiliating for a metal child to be punished.
Hmm.
um, so he didn't need a whole lot of discipline. He knew what was right, what was wrong, and he towed the line. And if he didn't, that was his choice, and
Hmm.
it wasn't a problem. And
No.
then finally, there is water, and water children are very introverted. They're very quiet. They're very in their head. They're very creative and imaginative. They don't need a whole lot of people. They don't like a whole lot of people around. They have one or two good friends, and that's fine with them. And like I say, they're very creative in their head. They're philosophers. They're deep thinkers. They're really
Hmm.
interesting kids. So that's sort of the five elements in a nutshell.
Okay, well, I'm gonna throw a situation with you, and how would it affect the children? A divorce.
Well, it, divorce in itself is not a okay. I don't think divorce is good, really good for. That's not true. I think that divorce happens in 50% of families, anyways. And I think that it can be hard on kids, but it doesn't have to be hard on kids. It all depends
Hmm.
on how the parents go about it. I got divorced while raising kids, but my husband and I went about it, ex-husband went about it in a rather different way. There was no animosity, there was no outward fighting.
Hmm.
Kids, it's good for kids to see that there is conflict and watch to see how the parents resolve the conflict.
Hmm.
A lot of fighting and arguing and that stays lingering in the air is not healthy for kids, I don't think, having that energy. But
Hmm.
seeing parents have their conflicts and then resolve them, or resolve by getting divorced, and it depends on how you handle. It all depends on how the parents handle it.
Which one of them would be mostly affected? I would assume the middle child would look to be the justice one,
Yes, I think
figuring
that
out who was right and who was wrong.
yeah, that's true. But
Okay.
the Earth Child really cares about having their family around. They don't like discord, and they like to have like to sit in everybody's lap. They like to have their family intact and together. They love being at a family dinner table.
Mm-hmm.
So they might as well. But yeah, also the metal. Probably the wood and the fire wouldn't care so much. And
Yeah.
that's a huge generalization. I mean, I think that
Right.
all
And we're
kids
going
care.
very general in these terms. Dig into
Yeah.
the book if you're looking to deal with some of these situations.
Yeah. Yep.
But, and you brought up, like the friend doing wrong. Who's the people pleaser out of them?
That's the earth child that does not want any arguing. They go along to get along.
Mm-hmm.
They fly under the radar because they make sure that everything is copacetic and calm and nobody is getting hurt and everybody is happy. Earth is very much the people pleaser.
Who's the kid on the roof?
Like the wood child.
The wood child? Okay.
When you say on the roof, tell me more what you mean.
Meaning like climbed out of the bedroom window, standing up on the roof, going to be Superman.
Yeah, that's a wood child. They don't care. They love taking risks and chances. Yeah. And most of the time, I think they can handle it. I think the kids in general know what their limits are. And if they don't and they learn, the wood child can handle it. They don't, that's fine with them.
Interesting.
Uh-huh.
So, other than like mindfulness and teaching children to be a little bit more woken and having their head together, how did you, as a mom of three, parent the two elements you had differently?
It's important because you have to parent all of your kids differently. And I still am parenting them differently. And I'm more aware now than I was when they were little, unfortunately or unfortunately, as to what they need. And like I say, the fire child who is following his own very unique path is not following the traditional path at all. And I made him feel I tried to make him feel absolutely fine with that. I accepted, you know, I wanted him to get some kind of an education. Certainly, I encouraged him to go to some kind of a college and get some kind of a degree, which he did do. But I'm welcome to hear all kinds of new things that he's trying. And the metal child I don't know if it comes as part of his metal personality, but he was very self-directed. He knew what he wanted. Yeah, it is part of the metal. He knew what he wanted. He was self-directed. He did not need much of anything from me or his dad. And so I just sort of, again, I was there to guide, but not do anything to take over for him at all. He had it totally under control. And my other child is a wood and an earth, and he's wood and he's got more broken bones, but he's such a easygoing kid, like an earth child. So he's a beautiful balance between wood and earth. And I really just tried to guide them, aware of what their tendencies were, and tried to bring out the best in them and keep them alive, I guess.
Right. So with that, and I'm sure every parent gets to that, they can't do it point. This child doesn't go to bed, I'm going to put him in a dryer and shut the door. Moments.
Yes.
What's your guidance for those?
Well, again, depending on the age of the child, but rather than shake your baby, you got to walk out of the house. You got to remove yourself from the situation. Take some big, deep breaths. Really take some big, deep breaths. And as long as your child is safe, walk out. Leave them alone. Do what you need to do to blow off whatever you need to blow off and come back and try to go at it at a different level, from a different angle, perhaps. Or even just taking a few minutes, you come back into the situation and things have shifted a little bit, and then you are in a better place to deal with them.
Very cool. Yeah, because I've been at that point. I've been also at that point where, and I was helping raise when Buzz Lightyear was out.
Yeah.
I still have a nervous tick whenever Toy Story comes on. But what is we've talked about a lot of the hard things. What has been some of the joys you've had in your practice working with parents?
Oh, seeing parents connect. I've worked with parents largely to help them understand who their child is, what their element type, but who they are and what their what the great things are about their child, because parents are not naturally, what although it seems to be naturally, lament what is wrong with their child and all the problems that the child has. That's what parents are always talking about, the problems that they have with their kids. And so if I can change their perspective a little bit, or the way of the way that they're seeing their kids, and help them see the great things that their child has to offer, which may not be what the parents expect or want or think they should be, but if they can take a step back and really see their child for who they are, and honor that and respect that, that's huge. I think that's great. That's
Yeah.
my mission.
What's been your biggest success, biggest change in parent and child relationship?
um, well, I have a couple of examples where I've helped parents realize that their kids are behaving a certain way because that's the way that they are. I had one mother. This is the example that I tend to use because
Mm-hmm.
it's a really good example. The mother was a fire type. She was really social. She was active. She was always going here, there, and everywhere, and lots of friends and all kinds of social activities. And she brought her 14-year-old daughter in for acupuncture treatments for migraine headaches. So I was treating her for migraine headaches, but then I also talked to the mom about her daughter's element type and her own element type. And I talked with the daughter also, and they had them both do the quiz for themselves and for each other. And the daughter was a water type who was not at all fiery, quite the opposite, who was very artistic, liked to come home after school and be alone in her room or have one friend over and do her artwork. And she was very, very gifted artist. She was very good.
Mm-hmm.
And did great at school. She didn't have any academic problems at all. She never got into trouble. But her mother thought that she was depressed. And so I tried to show her that
Mm-hmm.
mom's fire, daughter's water, they're not the same at all. They had a good relationship, but they're not the same, and not to
Right.
expect your daughter to be going out and having fun partying or, gallivanting all the time after
Right.
school. So she realized that her daughter was not depressed, that she was just exhibiting her water
Mm-hmm.
element type nature.
Yeah. And that. All right. So, where can they find out more about you other than your website? How can they get onto your podcast? Where is it at?
That is and right now I'm not, podcasts are on hold. You can
Mm-hmm.
see past podcasts on my website at juliephillipshatch.com, but they were on Spotify, Apple, Google, and YouTube.
Cool. Very cool.
Regular places.
And do you still do acupuncture appointments? And
I do. That's also on my website. That's a hard thing to do virtually. I can do parent coaching virtually from anywhere,
Mhm.
but the acupuncture treatments are in person. But
And
that's
where are
also on
they?
the website in Mattapoisett, Massachusetts.
Oh,
Near
Massachusetts.
yes,
Okay.
yes, kind of
Yeah.
a little bit near Cape Cod.
Cool. Very cool. Yeah,
Yep.
because this is international, so you may get contacted by parents in India going, "Why won't my daughter date a fire?"
Yeah, it'd be great. I would love it if people talk that way.
Yeah.
The element types.
Well, darling, thank you for coming on and
Thank you
being
for
with us.
thank
All
you
right,
for
guys, we're
having
going
me.
to take a sip, and we'll have Joe back, and we'll be talking some hot topics. Okay. Hello, darling. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you this evening?
Good. Planning, maybe to go, reevaluate this
Free
barbecue
range children
situation.
thing? Oh, yeah, the barbecue situation. You know, like, I think she touched on a really, she touched on it, but she didn't quite,
Right.
say it. Like, I just kept having this moment of, kind of remembering a conversation we've had previously about some parents
Mm-hmm.
and some kids are just literally fire and water. Like they just nope.
Yep.
There's no, because she was talking about the fire parent with the water child,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sitting there going, it's like that's the moment where like you think your kid's depressed.
Mm-hmm.
Now reverse that, and like that's like the water parent and the fire kid.
Uh-huh.
Like I'm pretty sure that's where you're like, okay, please sedate this child.
Yes.
Like,
ADHD, neurodivergency, psychokinesis, psycho something another.
like, can we run some electricity through it?
Yep.
Just,
I'm
like,
very sure that I'm
please
probably
fix
a
the
fire child.
I'm struggling to figure out where I'm at. I'm probably the water child. Like, and I was
I
also
think
a
you're
little.
water and wood.
Oh, okay, water. Wait, why? Like, I don't even like. My broken bones are for stupid reasons, but not like jumped off the roof stupid. Like,
Well, they're not for stupid reasons, first of
oh,
all.
I'm pretty sure that slamming shut the footrest of a recliner goes down as a unique and stupid reason to break bone.
Oh, I don't even
Two
think.
bones.
I don't even think so, because why were you slamming it down? Was it to go get more popcorn?
No, it was to like. I thought my grandmother was going to fall and hit the floor, and she didn't, which was great.
Right.
But at the same time, it was just like, God, this feels so stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Like, of all the reasons
Right.
I could have broken bone,
Mm-hmm.
like, this is not cool. Like, there's no telling the story later like it was, a great and like, no, I slammed shut the footrest of my stupid recliner and broke 2 bones in my ankle.
Uh-huh.
Like, it's
Broken
just
neck
like,
twice because you freaking was a horse thief, but that's another story.
well, that's your theory. Like, the actual theory, well, I didn't break my neck in, like, so to speak, in this life. But like, I did injure myself.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like, I don't know. I just look back and there's just like so many places I'm like, was it really just like the strain of picking up my grandmother? Or because like I kind of put it that way
Yeah.
because that's like the last incident.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like I look back and go, yeah, there's a crap ton of things that happened to me that it's like, yeah, that probably didn't help.
Right.
That probably didn't help either. Like the office with the 4-prong desk chairs.
I still don't know how they got those through OSHA.
Oh, like that's so cute. You think they cared? I mean, like, I'm sorry. This was an office I worked in that I swear to God, I just waited for the like giant vans
Mm-hmm.
and the whatever agency jackets and the chain on the door.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I expected it. I had accepted it. One day I'm going to drive in.
Uh-huh.
And like, there's going to be people pulling boxes out of the building. Like, it's shut down.
Right.
Like, because there were so many things that I was not paid enough to care about.
Right.
That like, because I already told them, like, you don't pay me enough to lie on a stand.
Right.
Like, so don't ask me to do things that are illegal.
Right.
Like, I am not going to prison for what I make.
Right.
Like, I will tell all I know.
Right.
Like, you got to pay me handsomely if you want me to lie for you.
Right.
Like, I think everyone should be there.
Right.
But no, they didn't care. Like, it really took having
Right.
it drawn to their attention. Like, the next time I fall, like, please understand, if I do, damage,
Mm-hmm.
I will sue you and I will win.
Mm-hmm.
Before it crossed their mind that, oh,
Right.
maybe this is serious.
Right.
And it's like, I just laid the evidence on the table. Like, one, it's 4-prong chair. Those aren't, those haven't been approved for decades.
Right.
2, hi, you're liable for workplace injury.
Right.
This is going to cause a workplace injury. And then when they went around the building and found out this was not uncommon.
Right.
So many people in that office kept flipping those 4-prong chairs, which is why they're no longer made.
Mm-hmm.
But so many people in that office kept flipping those 4-prong chairs, and they realized they were stuck in a potential severe liability. that like basically like it was probably every couple of days someone flipped one of these chairs because you couldn't like literally if you just sat in it wrong, you could roll it. And it's like, yeah, I kept falling backwards and catching my head on the cube wall because tiny cubes, like 6 foot cubes, dude. 8 foot at least. Like that would be my condition to ever go back to cubes. I've realized the only way I would ever go back to a cube farm is like you're giving me at least an 8 foot cube.
Yeah, that way you can at least lay down in it.
Yeah, you know,
for
without my feet under the desk. Yeah. You know, but no, like maybe the cubifice, like the cube office, like whatever you call those, the office cube. The office cube. If you will. Like those aren't bad. Like I can tolerate that concept. But that like open, like half open plan cube farm bullshit at 6 foot. Like barely 6 foot. No, never again. I hate those. That was just pure evil. Like y'all were talking about school being evil. I'm like, you know, though, how much of that does train the modern office worker? Like originally started, yes, for you know, factory workers, but you're literally creating the widgets that go in cubes. Like you're no longer creating the people that make widgets. You're creating the widgets that sit in cubes. Like that's it. That's kind of the modern education system. I like, and I'm talking like basic education. Not that there aren't really great alternative schools and really great alternative education opportunities that don't require homeschooling or like dropping out or whatever, but yeah. But now we did have an earlier comment about someone who was saying that their child, because of anxiety, really does want to drop out, get a GED, and go do hair. Honestly, I say it like this is my personal opinion. I am not a child expert or anything. My opinion on that situation is to, as long as they get the GED.
Exactly.
As long as you get the GED. Like that's the only thing. Like you want to drop out, try the GED program, like you can do that. But if you don't complete it, if you stop doing it, you're going back to the classroom. Like that's your option. Like you do one or the other. And then encourage that, mostly because I've seen the number, like, and I've seen this in my family. The number of people that know public schools just don't work for them. Like it's a shitty situation, and like you well-meaningly, because education is important. If for no other reason than good luck finding a job. Like unless you're ready to support yourself and you have a business idea that doesn't require a high school degree, good luck. Because if you have to work for someone else, you have to have it, one or the other, the high school diploma or the GED. And not that there aren't things that are valuable there too. But I've just seen so many people that tried to force the just finish high school, just a little bit more, like you only got one more year. And like these kids are just so tortured that like there was never a hope they were going to get either. Like they end up like at the point in which they have said, I just want to drop out and get my GED. That was the last off ramp to them ever getting a GED or a high school diploma, either one. This is all they have to tell you, that my life sucks here. In some form or another. And that because, and again, well-meaningly, just please do the high school diploma. Just please get the diploma. Please stay in school. Please, please, please. The next time that anything comes up about this, they're already out. They're done. They're not touching a GED program. that like you're years away from them ever wanting to be part of that situation, because school has now school education, knowledge and learning have become associated with so much trauma.
Right.
They can't even crack a book without immediately feeling stupid, ugly, worthless, like you name it. Whatever they were getting hit with, all of that just floods back. They can't get past that for many, many years.
Right.
Like, and a lot of therapy before they can accept that, you know, maybe they're not the brightest kid in the universe. They're not getting a 1600 on the SAT. Okay.
Right.
But they have intelligence, they have value, they have worth, they have
Right.
the ability to learn, they have the ability to have unique and specialized knowledge, they have the ability to be intelligent. You know, and that's okay. You don't have to like just keep beating yourself down with the crap you had thrown at you because you got something wrong and someone decided to be the mean girl of mean girls.
Right.
That's what I have seen.
Exactly.
Oh, we're gonna do this tonight. Let me get this on the other screen. There we go. Sorry, I keep having this weird, like, Techie Joe is gonna throw out a tech problem real quick. Can someone please explain why my monitor goes through this daily, like 1 hour, 2 hour flicker cycle?
Right.
I can't peg it to a time of day. I can't peg it to like activity on my graphics card. I can't peg it to a loose cable. I got nothing.
I don't know.
Stumped. Oh, so I'm going to talk to my kid's therapist and psychiatrist and see if they think it would be in her better interest to do GED instead of school. That is a lovely, lovely solution. I'm there.
Yep. Hello, Lady Gwen. Nice to see you coming in. All right, so we're going to talk about something we don't have an article for. Well,
Ooh.
actually.
Well, there's been so much in it. Like, dude, just one, like, really need an article at this point?
No, I guess we don't. Of course, we're going to talk about the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard suit.
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
I honestly think, like, and everyone's got to remember on this one, first of all, because it seems to be getting lost in translation. The divorce is final.
Yeah.
They're done. They've been done. This is about she sold her story.
Right.
Her version of events that seem very made for TV. Can we just all talk about this? And then while she's doing this trial, she is... I'm sorry, does anyone think she sounds sincere? Like, I'm really struggling. I cannot, I don't see any sincerity. Like, I don't know if she's, like, I'll just put it out there. I don't know, like, if she's sincere, if this is her true, honest, on a stack of Bibles version of the truth, are you on something?
Right.
Are you that... Like if this is her true version of events, she needs severe psychiatric help.
Yes.
So much help.
She does.
Or she's lying her ass off.
Oh, I think she's
one of
lying
the two.
her ass off.
Like, because...
well, not only that, but looking at things in general, she isn't missing a body part. No. Johnny Depp lost a finger.
Yeah.
We're not even sure about that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It looks like everyone's in the... yeah. Oh, everyone loves your hair.
Thank you. I have a new stylist. I have officially gotten a stylist in this freaking burg of hell.
Oh, you were so thrilled about that.
I was. Of course, I went by recommendations and then found him. Didn't know I found him because Lord knows I needed a haircut. Johnny isn't a saint, but here's the problem with that. He tried to do better. But there have been so many counts of her abusing him that it's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, and here, like, we were talking a little bit about this one earlier, and it's like I do not believe he is a saint at all. I do, however, feel like there would be an opportunity in the course of their relationship for him to have flipped his shit maybe once,
Right.
like totally lost it, probably heavily related to drug and alcohol use.
Right.
Like, again, this is the not a saint part. Like, we're real sure he does a lot of drugs and alcohol.
Right.
Got that. I think everyone's got that. I think he could hit her.
Right.
Or an incident could occur. I would even go so far to say there may have been one.
Right.
And maybe she didn't document it and had the same thought I'm having with it. That's a domestic violence incident, not a pattern of domestic abuse.
Right.
Like, if your significant other flips their shit on drugs and alcohol one time,
right,
and bad things happen,
right,
yes, you have to evaluate that. Yes, you have to get therapy and heal from that. Yes, you've got a lot of work to do. But that's not domestic abuse. And I want to be real clear. It's an incident of domestic violence. It is not abuse.
Yeah, but I got one request, honey.
Okay.
Can I have Ben King as my house manager?
Can you have what?
The housekeeper, Ben King. Oh my God, he was so adorable, so sweet on the stand, and so polite. He goes for provisions to provision the house.
Yeah. Okay.
He was very clear about what occurred. He even was nice and took Amber Heard back to LA when she left Australia, when Johnny Depp lost his fingertip. And I'm still trying to figure out what a couch, I've given you 3 couches means.
What?
In one of Amber Heard's conversations with Johnny, arguments with Johnny, she says, I've given you 3 couches and you've not done one of them.
I don't know. Maybe, I think chances?
Couches?
3 therapists?
Possibly.
I mean, that's the closest I could get for that. I don't know. I keep getting sucked into, I think, and I'm probably delving into the land of psychoanalyzing, but just for the sake of argument, I think she's got a made up version of this that she is the victim. And I don't think she recognizes any of her behavior as ever being wrong ever for any reason.
Right.
Has anyone seen humility out of her ever? I'm not seeing it. I'm, because typically, and granted, not a divorce case.
Right.
And granted, this is all supposed to be about,
right.
She's right, he's wrong. It's her story. It's the truth. She had every right to tell it, blah, blah, blah. I get that. But, even when they're calling her on her bullshit, you just see her getting pissed.
Well, it's like she got called on today in cross-examination about her supposed to donate her divorce settlement, and she said she pledged her divorce settlement.
Okay.
And didn't see the difference between pledging and donating.
Oh, so she said she was going to donate it, effectively. She pledged it to a cause. But then that's not what she did. She cashed that motherfucking check and walked away.
Right.
Someday maybe I might give that much money in charity.
Right.
Now.
This one is amazing. I saw this today and I was like, oh my God, really? Really?
Yeah.
The cross-examination was insane.
Yeah, this is kind of that disconnect though. And and also being called out on it is like, you don't see this moment of like, we all have like past events that we remember differently.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we were so angry, we were so whatever. But typically when people like really get confronted, smacked in the face with, okay, but this is what actually happened,
Mm-hmm.
there's that kind of like, oh,
Right.
okay, maybe I took that out of context. Like, I'm not saying it's inherently a good thing to get stuck in your own self-doubt, or that it isn't a good thing when you're at trial to have an attorney pumping you up to make sure that you are
Can
a
we talk
clear,
about her
consistent.
attorneys? They are fucking idiots.
Yeah.
They are used to doing settlement cases. Tell you.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Which
let's
she
compare
probably thought was where this would go.
Let's compare this.
Mm-hmm.
They've heard us talk about the big renegotiation in our relationship. What happened that night?
How exactly do you mean? As in, like, there was a loud, angry conversation that went with it, I do believe.
No, there wasn't. We never said a word to each other.
Oh, you mean like the breakup and the
The renegotiation.
Yeah, well, I mean, the period can be called that.
Right.
But no, yeah, the technical breakup was actually silent.
Yeah.
Deafeningly silent.
Uh-huh.
On both sides, it was like, okay, like, this is where we're at. Okay. Okay. But yeah, sorry, I don't know, mentally I've jumped to a different night, but anywho.
Mm-hmm.
But no, and then the period was mostly silent, and then yeah, it was the invisible assistant that was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I don't know what happened here, but I keep feeling like both of you got the wrong end of a stick somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
That was like the basic gist of it is, I think something happened, but I don't think what happened is what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Like, neither of you seemed to be like because we weren't.
No.
Like, neither of us were in that headspace where
No.
it's like, you are the scum of the earth. I fucking hate you.
Mm-hmm.
I want to burn your entrails on a pyre in town square. No.
Burn your recording devices, yes.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. But no, like,
only time I've ever been broke up because of a ghost.
Yes. Which, if you haven't heard that one, you got to go back, find that episode. We'll try to post it later if we figure out which one it is.
It's a couple of them because it's my finest moment of pure psychic bullshit.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Only a psychic could have fucking lived that.
Yeah, really. Well, short gist of it is, I sound too much like my father, especially on electronic devices. Like, and he and I went through that for years. One of my brothers and I all went through this. If one of us answered the phone, no one knew who the fuck they were talking to.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been me. It could have been, the middle brother. It could have been dad.
Right.
You had to be careful. You could, like, because dad was notorious, side note, for, like, he'd let you go with whoever the fuck you thought you were talking to. Because dad enjoyed letting people just do shit.
Mm-hmm.
And think whatever they wanted to think, or believe whatever they believed, and then see what happens. Like, he loved chaos. He loved to create chaos. He couldn't just be like, wait, I think you're calling for,
mm-hmm.
and I'm not him. Yeah, he'd be like, okay, I'll run with it.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, this is why for years I dove for the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just no. Like, I can be respectful. I'll immediately tell you, nope, wrong party. You have messed up. You've wrong person. Hold on a minute.
Right. But anyway, that argument, even our loudest argument over the tree, and you're not trusting my judgments and knowledge of this house, wasn't any of this bullshit. But we both remember it differently.
Yeah.
Neither one of us would have thought to hit record.
No. I mean, we thought about hitting the tree.
I thought about hitting the tree with something, but now I remember it had a fusion.
Yeah, really. Hey.
You just figured that one out.
That's just wrong. On so many levels. Bad joke neck fusion patients get to make. Sorry. We get our humor where we can. But no, we've got different versions of that. It is kind of funny at this point. Both situations, the renegotiation, the fight over the tree.
Yeah.
And
I gotta say, the only two big fights we've had, other than you and your medical team, and I blew the hell up.
Yeah. No, that's been the two biggest wow.
Yeah.
Nights. And it was just both times it was, I guess you could say both times we had the wrong end of a stick.
Possibly, yeah.
Because that tree was literally a stick.
Yeah. And that recorder was literally as a stick recorder, so I'll give you that joke.
Oh yeah. But
no. The only time that I've lost my temper totally on you is over your fucking medical team being idiots.
Yeah. And at that point, I was coming out of the taking care of my grandmother process. As in, I think only 18 months or so, maybe 2 years. Before she hit hospice, did we have any kind of support there? In terms of hiring an agency, having someone come in. The first 6 months or so of that were really hectic because we had fucked up and didn't know it. And no one with the agency was just being let me level with you.
Right.
Instead, they're no, we're going to continue to keep trying to fulfill the obligation and not tell you. And it finally took one of their employees being look, here's the deal.
Right.
She's great. I can't afford to work for you.
Right.
What? And then getting the explanation. It's oh, we can fix that.
Yeah.
I just needed someone to tell me.
Right.
Directly, concretely, intelligently, here's the problem. Don't beat around the bush. Don't, not that the agency even tried. Right. But no, so I was, and then even before that, the last company I worked for, good luck getting days off for medical. Good fucking luck. I had emergency surgery. You would think that I sprung going in for a paper cut on them. And it's no, I didn't take a lot of days for medical. And then jumped into taking care of my grandmother. Wasn't a lot of room for medical. I did what I had to do, dealing with my neck. And then everything else was just I'm young and hopefully I'll survive. Yeah. And we'll deal with it later. We'll deal with this, we'll deal with that, we'll deal with this other thing. We'll get there. Which, by the way, worst way to do caregiving. 0 out of 10 do not recommend. Don't do that.
Right. Well, and that's been our big fights as I've lost my temper. Oh, fuck no. Yeah. If I have to stick my finger every fucking day, you're going to take your fucking pills, and nobody better shave your fucking leg unless it's me and stick fucking tape on it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there was a lot going on.
Yeah.
And especially in that second incident.
Yeah.
Well, and all of it was being directed like I'd gotten a doctor that I was originally like, he seemed good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was like he was really good at like initial consults and like if you just needed annual physical,
Mm-hmm.
and he's a great doctor for that.
Right.
But otherwise, no.
Right.
Or if it was a situation like something changed,
Right.
like if somewhere in that dynamic something went wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it was. I've also been told I really sometimes mess with medical professionals,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you don't have a sense of humor. Like, I'm really hard to tolerate as a human being if you don't have a decent sense of humor.
Right.
You know.
Okay. So we got a couple questions, and then I want to go and talk about this damn teacher.
Oh, yes.
So we'll tag team all these two questions together because they're from the same person.
Okay. All right, let me get there. Oh, there we go. So starting at Madison?
Nope, we're starting with Ashley. I'll
Oh,
start
there she is.
for you.
There she is.
We'll take those two, then we'll move on.
Okay, thank you. So Ashley, 8/26/96, can I get a weekend forecast given it's Jen's memorial and Grace's recital?
Take a look here. A lot of stress. You're going to have to be really strong. I feel like there may be some financial things. Weather-wise, I think it'll be fairly good for you. It may look like it's going to rain, but it won't. All right, now I'll take our next one.
All right, where do I find the dang purple outfits? I have checked Target, Carter's, and Amazon with no luck for the babies.
Darling, I'm going to give you some wise advice. Call your husband's people, the best dressed one. Ask them. They will know where to get purple outfits. They know where to get purple 3-piece suits at.
Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's something like a consignment shop.
That or, an independent dealer, independent designer, something like that.
Well, weird thing having too many people in my family that do pageants.
Uh-huh.
Purple was big a while back.
Mm-hmm.
Like, huge amount of purple. That's got to have hit consignment by now.
Oh, yeah. It's done hit consignment and went on. But what I'm saying is, I'm sorry. I'm just going to be as blunt as I can with this. And please forgive the forgiveness already. The POC community can find colored outfits easier than God. If I need to go and get me some purple outfit, I'm going to be calling up brother down the street here. He owns a church, so he is a brother, and asking him where he gets his purple Sunday suits.
Mm-hmm. Aww. Well, generally the materials.
Yeah.
Like, it's this, like, I'm talking more like dresses. Like, there's a lot that isn't the typical like pageant wear.
Right.
That actually gets used as pageant wear. Like, a lot of people think it's the really big frilly dress.
Right.
Oh, please. That died way back. Now they have evening gown competition for toddlers.
Yep.
Okay. That's not the big, pretty, like, frilly little girl thing, or you know what I mean. It's now like, and they do the male pageants as well, so you end up with like the same concepts, like getting reflected. But it's been a while since purple's been big.
No, it hasn't. I saw it this weekend. Well, Mother's Day weekend. There was 2 darling children out there when I stepped out to take a smoke break so I didn't kill the waiter.
Hey, he was trying, okay?
honey, he was trying and dead tired, and I was trying to be nice and sweet and kind, and I just needed a cigarette. It was one of those trips.
Well, I was also meaning big, like pageant wise.
Yeah.
Like, it's weird when you have like nieces and stuff that keep like doing pageants and shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you start, like, every flippin' parent always, like, when you have a pageant baby, you photograph the fuck out of that child.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you see portrait studio photos. Like, this kid comes with an entourage of outfits.
Of course.
And like every outfit gets a photo set, a photo set.
Yes.
And it's like, so you get used to like the colors and the, like where everything's at. And it's
Right.
like, I haven't seen purple in a while.
Oh, I have. I saw it
Like,
this weekend on a living child. All right. Not just the photos is what I mean by that. All right, so let's take on Miss Madison. Hello, Madison. How are you, darling? Thank you for the compliment on my hair. I'll let Shane know.
Yes, so Madison, 12/15/2001, did seeing Alex reignite his feelings for me. Also, love the haircut.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, I feel that it did reignite the feelings, although I don't feel like they needed reunited. I feel like that they are very good feelings. I think that you should be hearing from him again soon. All right, so let's break down this story on this freaking teacher that I just at Tyler County. Tyler County, West Virginia, Board of Education is being sued by parents after their child was tied to a chair.
Oh. So, yeah, Taylor County Board of Education after the child was tied to a chair. Grafton, West Virginia, the parents of a disabled elementary school student have filed a lawsuit against the Taylor County Board of Education, a school principal, and several school employers surrounding claims their child was unlawfully restrained to a chair. The suit filed by Justin and Amanda Sharp in Taylor County Circuit Court alleges that a special education teacher and an aide at Anna Jarvis Elementary School bound their 9-year-old son with a gait belt for 22 minutes while the teacher ate lunch. The boy suffers from a number of conditions that cause him to need help and supervision for most tasks, the lawsuit says. He uses a wheelchair or standing device and needs adult help to transfer on and off his chair or furniture. He also has a very limited vocabulary and cannot speak in sentences, the suit goes on to say. Due to his special needs, the child was placed on an individual education program, IEP, by the school system. That IEP did not call for the use of any form of restraint for the boy, attorneys for the plaintiffs point out. On the September 2021 day in question, the child was in a special needs classroom, some of which was monitored by video cameras, says the suit. According to state code, the cameras were supposed to show the entire classroom and record audio. The camera in this classroom did not have a view of the whole room and was not able to record audio, claims the lawsuit. Below is what the lawsuit alleges was seen in the video. The special education teacher carried the boy across the classroom and set him in a chair before she and the aide wrapped the belt around the boy. The boy immediately beginning to try to free himself from the belt, pulling on it, tugging it, flipping it, and putting the end of it in his mouth. He then rocked the chair back and forth, causing it to bounce up and down and slide across the floor. While this was happening, the teacher sat down at a table and ate her lunch and at one point left the room, leaving the child unattended. Then the boys assigned one-on-one aide brought another special needs student into the classroom and sat down to do some paperwork, ignoring the boy. After about 15 minutes of being tied to the chair, the child scooted the chair out of view of the camera. After several minutes, the first aide moved the boy's chair back into the camera's view. This pattern repeated itself once more, ending with the child hopping up and down furiously, which caused the chair to rock and lift up off the floor. A physical therapist is then seen coming into the classroom and appearing to question why the boy was restrained. The belt was then removed. The teacher also restrained another special needs child for about 10 minutes while she ate her lunch, says the suit.
The school's principal was informed of the incident that day, and the boy's parents weren't informed that their child had been restrained until another 5 days after it happened, and was given a very few details, they say. Washington Department of Education Office of the Federal Program and Special Support investigated this incident, and in February 2022 detailed a 12 violations of state law, policy, and or procedures according to the lawsuit. The lawsuit alleges neglect, violations of human rights, and reckless infliction of emotional distress against all the defendants, and neglectful training and supervision against the Board of Education. The parents have asked for a jury trial. Good.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous.
Yeah. And it's a gait belt. And for those of you who aren't familiar, these are belts used that typically are used to help support someone while they walk.
Right.
So they're very sturdy, they're very strong, they're meant to hold someone very snugly.
Yeah.
So that you don't drop them.
Right.
Think of a weight belt almost.
Actually,
Like it's that.
think of the belts that clamp and they go through one loop and come out another, so you can't release. It's that type of belt, and it's very. This is damaging.
They were informed 5 days later is how they found out.
Yeah. So they got a letter from the school 5 days later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And thankfully wanted to know more.
Yeah.
And use their West Virginia is still only, you have to have a specific incident alleged. Because I don't think we ever passed the amended legislation, did we?
No, of course not. Then they how bad these school systems are.
Yeah. So in West Virginia, you do have to have a date and a rough time to allege an incident to then seek to review video. You can't just pop in and be like, I want to see this date in question.
Right.
Like you can't just randomly.
Right.
You have to allege an incident, and then, and only then, can you review the video footage from that classroom at that day and time.
Right.
Or effectively an administrator will go ahead and scrub the video for that day and time.
Right.
See if there is anything, and then let you know.
Right.
If the incident isn't so far in the past that video has already been erased.
Right.
Because they have I think it's like 90 days or something.
Well, again, I think it's ridiculous with the amount of storage that is available for purchase for like what, $12, $13?
Pardon? Oh, storage that's available for very little money. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and moreover, like there's a giant flaw in this, which is effectively without that letter. They don't know what to ask for. This is a child who cannot communicate in complete sentences, wouldn't have understood what happened enough to explain it.
Right.
As are many of the kids that we're finding that this is happening to. That unfortunately, this is the giant gaping loophole, is if you don't know there's something wrong, you can't define an incident in a time frame. You can't report it and request to see the video.
Well, this is what I do not get. Okay. Yeah. 20 years ago, physical restraints were no longer allowed in any mental institution, any nursing home, and any school facility. And Summers, yes, we do. We need your name and question.
Date of birth too is awesome.
Yes. So how they're even allowed to do this, not to just one child, not one, two.
Well, and that's the other thing being pointed out here is it's not allowed.
Right.
It's not allowed.
Right.
And in most instances, anytime you are restraining someone, this should be for the protection of yourself and
Right.
others. And what's said here doesn't really demonstrate any reason, one, of like why,
Right.
other than this teacher wanted to sit and eat her lunch and not be bothered. Like, that's not a reason.
Then give her a lunch break. Why is his one-on-one aide supervising another child? That aide is employed by the Board of Education and paid by the federal government to take care of that child from the moment he come onto the bus to the moment he comes off the bus. Why was she dealing with another child and eating lunch and doing paperwork and ignoring him?
And I think this speaks to a lot of the problems that special education has had and continues to have, is the lack of appropriate classroom support. Not that justifies the behavior. Does not.
Right.
But a lot of what we end up seeing is this: you're trying to treat a special education classroom setup environment like it's any other classroom, like this is any other teacher in your building, without realizing that no, you normally don't get to just like open the door, throw those kids out to the lunch line, and, you know, go sit down and eat a lunch. That's not the scenario of education we're talking about.
Right.
This is a group of kids, you know, and then like have your like 5 teachers with lunch duty to like 100 kids eating lunch scenario.
Right.
Like it doesn't, no. But in order for this to work, you do have to have relief staff.
Right.
That are doing their thing. Otherwise, no, that teacher doesn't get a lunch.
Right.
Like, and it sucks and it's horrible and it shouldn't happen.
Right.
And it is definitely a complaint.
Well, according to what I'm seeing in the records, this child was hired a personal aide, one-on-one aide. That is that aide's job. Is that child. Why was she aiding another child in doing paperwork and ignoring the child that she was hired for?
Yeah, it's very... there's many things wrong with this situation.
Yeah.
Not the least of which is restraining a child that does not... Again, there are instances where despite an IEP not having any kind of restraint, which is kind of rare, but there are situations,
right?
In which, again, to prevent harm to themselves and others. But that's where it all boils down to. You can exceed the bounds of the IEP,
right?
But you have to have exceeding. No, you could make a reasonable choice in that situation. You're going to get reviewed.
Yeah.
But as long as you can justify it. Like, this kid was trying to kill themselves. Okay?
Yeah,
like,
but that's
here's the video. Kid's trying to kill himself. What do you want me to do?
Right.
I did the best thing I could to protect.
That is not a physical restraint. That is not taking a belt and tying a child to a chair. That can't even move to begin with. He cannot transfer from one chair to another on his own.
Right. Well, but what I'm saying, though, is there are situations where, yes, the exceeding nature, like if the child exceeds the IEP,
right,
you can make choices.
Right.
You're going to get reviewed. You're going to have to answer for them. You're going to have to justify what you did.
Right.
This is a situation where you were nowhere near.
Yeah, there's no reason you can justify hog tying a child to a chair that is in their normal day.
Yeah. Like, it appears there is no situation described
Right.
That, like, why would you do that? Other than you don't want to deal with this kid. You need him to sit still, shut up, leave you alone so you can eat your lunch.
Right.
That's it. Unfortunately, no, you're a special education teacher in potentially a shitty school district that doesn't give a fuck.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a horrible situation to be in, and you should be writing complaints up one side and down the other.
Right.
That doesn't give you the right to make it work by tying up a child
Right.
so you can eat your lunch or go to the bathroom or whatever you think you need to do.
Well, it makes no sense. Is why tie him up? He has a wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
That's like taking your glasses away so that I can eat my lunch.
Well, fair enough. Yeah. Okay, I see what you're saying. You already removed from the wheelchair.
Yeah.
Again, the only other thought that I can have is that many wheelchairs do, depending upon like levels of like injury and for the protection of the wheelchair user, do have like seat belts to prevent like sliding and slipping, and like, you know, falling out. I don't know if like that somehow mentally played a factor.
Right, but then I'm saying the logic to that is leave the child in their wheelchair, allow them to watch TV or play, and yeah, you have to get up and like, no, Johnny, you can't go out the door. Let's turn around here and go watch TV. Ridiculous.
Yeah, you've already effectively removed the child's legs when they were out of the wheelchair.
Yeah.
Like, how far can they go? Again, the only reason, and grasping at straws, reasonable explanation for this situation, it would be fear that the child will fall out of the desk chair. And even then, it's like, well, there's a big difference between you restrain a child in a chair and you help support a child in a chair. I would think
chairs for his desk to support him.
Yeah. Well, again, I would think there would be some clarification, like, and especially by the school.
Yeah.
Very, very quickly. That, you know, this was not restrained in a chair as much as this was secured, you know, secured positioning of a child in a chair.
Right.
I would think they would very clearly articulate that, and that there would be some notation in that IEP.
Right.
That, like, look, this child typically uses a wheelchair, so when they transfer to a chair, you are going to have to ensure that they don't fall out.
Right. But initially, if I remember correctly, and granted, I went to school with many children in wheelchairs, they use the wheelchair for everything.
The chair goes everywhere. And I'm there, like, Brenda, I'm there, like, my devil's advocate is on empty. For
because
this
there is no
that is the thinnest ice that I can come up with that could be a potentially like, okay, this is what this teacher had done, but it's like, but I still have to go back and go, at this point, I'm sure if there were any way that school system could sit here and be like, well, there's, you know, a little nuance here. Was not restrained, was supported.
Right.
They would have very clearly articulated that and made sure these parents understood that, like, no.
Well, see, here's the other thing of that is if the child was needed a special desk chair to be set in, or special setup for a desk chair, they would have gotten the ADA would have ordered him a desk chair that would have accommodated either the chest restraint or the seatbelt restraint for that chair for him.
And more importantly, those aren't exactly like, they're often called restraint systems,
Mm-hmm.
but they are supportive.
Right.
Like it's only a restraint system typically when you're talking about car seats.
Yes.
Like a 5-point harness
Mm-hmm.
is called a 5-point restraint when you're talking about a child seat.
Right.
In any other instance, it would just be called a 5-point harness.
Right.
Is it supports, it's a harness.
Right. There would not be a use of a gait belt, which is enabling to aid in walking and supporting mobility. Mm-mm. No.
Right. Yeah, that's a really problematic reuse of like a different tool.
Yeah.
Especially on a
nursing
kid.
home, that person would have already been arrested. Why this teacher has not been arrested for neglect and I believe it's neglect and improper restraint. That would make that battery.
Yeah.
Is beyond me.
Yeah.
All right, so we got a question, and then we got "Are you the asshole?"
All right. So Summer 72682. Does the guy I'm seeing truly love me? By yes. So does he truly love her?
Looking at it, he does. Now, he tends to like to keep things simple and romantic and comfortable, very traditional idealism. He does love you, has a very much big passion for you. But with that, you're going to have to relax, let him show it to you, because he is a different style of communicator. He's not going to tell you he loves you 500 times, but he'll make sure things get took care of.
All right.
All right. So we got you a techie one, and I'm going to let you take it away.
All righty. So am I the asshole for, quote, holding their drone hostage and blackmailing them? I, 23 female, moved into a home with my disabled mother, 59 female, 9 years ago. When we first moved in, she was a lot more mobile, but she's now got to the point where she is basically bedbound, so I provide her care 24/7 and maintain the home and land myself. Not long after we moved in, we met the family who owned the property next to us, who we thought were great. Their kids, 4 boys, while occasionally noisy and loud, were all under the age of 10, with their oldest turning 10 a month after we moved in. The noise didn't bother us much. They were children having fun outside, doing what kids do, and they were always inside before it was late, so it didn't create any issues or disrupt anything. So why would we have reason to complain? As the boys have grown older, all now 19 to 15, their behavior has become less charming and more concerning. I never used to have an issue with them talking to me over the fence when they saw me, but as of the last year or so, they've all got to the point where some of the things they say make my skin crawl, and I usually end up going inside. I tried to be understanding as they lost their mother in early 2021 and thought they might be acting out due to grief. But the last thing they did was the final straw for me. My bedroom is upstairs in the back of the house, and nothing can be seen through the window from outside as there's no houses backing onto ours. Last week, when I was in the garden, I noticed that they were watching me over the fence, but didn't say anything. I got so uncomfortable I stopped my work and went inside to shower. As I was changing in my bedroom, however, I started to feel uncomfortable, like someone was there, and when I looked up, I noticed they were flying their drone right outside my open window, and the camera was facing straight at me. I was furious. I managed to grab the drone through the open window and covered it with a towel, then stuffed it under my bed and tried to figure out what to do next. Later that night, their father came over, pounding on my door, and demanded I give them the drone back or he would report me for theft. I asked him if he knew why I had taken it from them, to which he explained the exact situation that happened and said that wasn't a good enough reason to take it. I told him until I had proof that all videos they had taken were deleted and hadn't been shared, I wouldn't give it back. I said to call the cops. I'd tell them exactly what had happened, why I took it, and won't give it back, because my security camera that covers only my garden had caught the whole thing, and we would see who's in more trouble then. He then accused me of theft and blackmail, saying they're only having fun and I'm overreacting / causing an issue. I said I knew the video. I said if I knew the video was gone, I would give it back. But until then, I won't. And if he wants, he can call the cops, but I won't be the only one in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
It's been days and I'm not backing down, but I've been told I'm an ass. Am I the asshole?
Yeah.
No. Yeah. No. No. You're actually probably a lot more understanding in this situation, or at least willing to make amends in this situation than you should be.
Mm-hmm.
Problem one, than you should be. But okay, you're a decent neighbor. You don't want any trouble. Just, hey, you erase and show me you haven't shared the videos, and we'll let bygones be bygones. Don't do that again.
Right.
Fair enough. Honestly, this dad needs to get his shit together and realize, no. Welcome to the digital age. Welcome to the 21st century, and welcome to the every kid has a fucking drone
Right.
world that we live in. There's laws that
Mm-hmm.
go with this.
Right.
One, your kids trespassed with that drone. They are not allowed to fly that over other people's property. Generally, as a law in various areas, general legal precedent is you are trespassing without owner consent if you fly over someone's property with a drone.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do it.
Right.
You really need to familiarize yourself with the legal requirements of operating a drone. It's not as harmless, quote unquote, as you may think it is. Because you can end up in a lot of trouble, and some of that trouble comes from the FAA.
Mm-hmm.
Who doesn't fuck around.
No. The other part of this is they were, I believe, peeping Toms. So therefore, and then revenge porn. She's not the asshole. They are. They are asshole teenagers that need their ass beat and summer work projects done.
Well, and I think the part that gets lost in the story is and maybe I'm confused.
Okay.
Was she 23 when she moved in, or was she 23 now? So basically age 15 or whatever.
I would say probably age 15 or whatever.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to do quick math. It's 14 or something.
Right. So age 23 now.
Yeah. So age 23 now. I can kind of there's a lot going on here.
Right.
She's not she's an older neighbor, but she's similar age neighbor.
Right.
This isn't just boys will be boys. They, no, sorry, that's crap anyway, but this is not harmless. We were flying a drone and it was an accident.
Right.
No. They're establishing a pattern, which it looks like they get from their dad, of really objectifying women.
Right.
And because what the dad does in this one is really not get why that's a problem. He knew exactly what they did and doesn't get it.
Right.
Okay, what? I'm sorry, what? No, that's the point where if you get a hold of the drone, the only thing that needs to be done to it is it needs to be destroyed.
Right.
That should be your fatherly reaction in the situation. Is you let those kids watch it as you run over it with your car.
Right. Well, apparently they've already suggested that the OP previously, before this incident, removed clothing, and father said that he would talk to them and never did.
Yeah. No. Like, again, this is, you're teaching these kids.
Right.
Usually okay, so here is the comment. Usually their comments are overly sexualized, telling me that if I was to remove clothing or something of the sort, they would, quote, reward me.
Right.
I've spoken to their dad about it in the past, and he said he would talk to them, but either he hasn't or they didn't care because they got worse and worse.
Right.
3 of them are literally underage, and it's enough to make me want to vomit sometimes, because if they brazenly say things like that in person, what else will they say to other people online or something?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that the online or something is necessarily her personal concern. I understand it. Like, you can't control that.
Right.
I understand your desire to, like, not have more people like that in the world. I'm down with that.
Right.
You really, though, can only right now work with, like, the situation they're putting you in. And as a neighbor, you don't deserve that.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry. It's creepy and weird and rude to leer at your neighbors, but there's nothing you can normally do about that. When you start harassing them,
Right.
sexually harassing them,
Right.
then yes, there's things you can do about that.
Right.
And at least having the cops knock on their door and going, look, you're raising like 4 peeping toms here.
Right.
Get your shit together, daddy.
Right.
And fix it. Or the next time we're here, we'll probably to arrest one of them.
Right.
Because what they're learning from you is that this behavior is appropriate.
Right.
And this is how you act towards women, and it is not.
Right.
Yeah, like, I'm with Emily. Boys will be boys is when my son snatches all the empty boxes from the kitchen and builds a mech suit for himself.
Right.
Yes. That's an appropriate version of that.
Right.
Like, that is like, yeah, should have seen that coming. Yeah.
Right.
Like, there were empty boxes, and yeah, that's going to
I
be.
could see a mech suit coming out of that. I could see that. A 15-year-old filming a woman coming out of a shower, or worse, taking a whole shower.
No.
Mm-mm.
You failed.
Get me the straight ad. Let's fix this.
Hey, Dottie.
Hi, Dottie. All right, so Patty's got a question, and then we're going to go to relationship advice.
All righty, Patty 32459. Do you see us getting out of debt anytime soon?
I think you need to create a plan and follow the plan. I do feel you getting out of debt, but it's going to take work to get there. I'm going to say it's going to be about 6 months to a year of very well-focused behavior. All right, so on to relationship advice. Title is Ghosted Me. Now he wants sex. There was a guy I met on Tinder about 8 months ago. He is 39 years old, BDSM lifestyler. I'm 25 years old, native girl. We talked for about 2 months until we met. It wasn't my best date, but at the end, I had the best sexual experience of my whole life. Then 4 days later, he ghosted me because he thought I was hating him. Yesterday, he sent me a text that I should come over to his place and play a little. I don't know what should I do because I know the sex would be awesome, but I'm a sentimental girl. I would be broken if he ghosted me again. Sorry for my bad writing. English is not my first language. Thanks. I get this all the time. This is my advice. If you're not cool with booty calls, then tell him to go jump off. Send him to the shower with his ghostedness. What's your thoughts?
I like similar vein, but yeah, I think a lot of people, and we've had this discussion, like we've
Mhm.
had it on the show, we've had it privately, we've had it in a bunch of different contexts. Some of y'all just get really locked on like that guy at work, that one date you had, that one person, and like you just really try to make it work. Why?
Right.
Like that's my thing is like why?
Right.
Like I'm glad you went on a date and found a great sexual experience.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. You found things you may not have known you were quite into.
Right.
Is what it sounds like.
Right.
Obviously though, the person
Right.
that provided those you're not into.
Right.
Like that's not your package. Don't confuse that for that's just BDSM or that's just whatever. Do acknowledge and take from that date that like new things you're interested in that you didn't know before.
Right.
Use that to influence yourself going forward.
Mm-hmm.
And like find someone that can do that while also finding someone that is capable of being there for you emotionally, that wants a relationship, that can not be a jackass outside of the bedroom.
Right.
Like those two things are not mutually exclusive. You can find both.
Right.
They exist in someone, maybe multiple someones for you.
Right.
And that's the other thing we get into a lot in conversation is this belief there's only one. Like, no.
Right.
Like, no. Like, you're not potentially going to be single for the rest of your life because your soulmate got hit by a bus 10 years ago. Like, it didn't happen.
Right.
Like, you're cool. It'll be cool. Like, it'll be cool. Oh, and you're getting some accolades here.
Oh, I am.
Yes. So apparently your reading last week was spot on. The meeting at work went great, and the new pay level starts this week.
Yay.
Awesome. So glad that that advice was helpful for you and spot on and awesome. Feel free to leave him feedback in a review.
Yes, and you can do that in a few different places. Google, Facebook, all of them are lovely.
Awesome. Yeah, sex doesn't equal love.
No,
exactly, Brenda. Like, and you can have them, and can we just please, if we're going to, somewhere along the way, can we please, when we teach sexual health education, just start with that?
Right.
Sex, love.
Right.
It's nice when they coexist.
Right.
They don't have to.
Mm-mm.
Like, sex is for pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
Love is for life.
Yes.
Like, this is how you care and nurture a human being.
Mm-hmm.
Love. Sex is how you get off. It's great when they come together, pun intended. They don't have to.
Right.
They can be mutually exclusive ideals. And they can be, and a person experiencing those independently is not damaged, is not, having, in an inferior life experience. That there are people that are perfectly happy with just one of those two. Most commonly look for both. Doesn't always work out. Isn't always a great plan. Sorry, don't know what to tell you other than get with the program.
Exactly.
Like, there's a whole world of experience. You are not a damaged human being for, wanting both, wanting one, not the other, wanting the other, but not the one.
Exactly. And furthermore, there is to realize that when you get into an experience where it's a possible booty call, then decide where your line is on that booty call. Is it something you want to do? Is it something that's like, nah, it ain't Tuesday. I only do booty calls on Tuesday. Have a great day.
Yeah. Well, and also understand there's flexibility. Like, that's another thing that I really wish people got
Right.
About this concept is, like, there's, like, we make fun of booty calls. We make fun of a lot of things as a society. No. Sorry, don't get it. Like, you, like, hi, do we have to go through the Maslow, like,
Hierarchy of needs?
hierarchy of needs? Thank you. Do we have to go through that and explain this? That, like, sometimes your life's great, but you need to get off. Booty calls work for that, if they work for the people involved in them, and you make them work for you. Right. That's the last part of it, is like, and you make it work for you.
Right.
In terms of, you know, like, you're open and honest.
You're safe.
You, to yourself. Most importantly, to yourself. About what you're looking for, what you're needing, what you're getting, and where your limits are, and, like, what you want out of it and what you don't.
Yep.
And work at to meet your needs.
Right.
Like, it's not the 1950s. You do not have to be a sexually repressed housewife anymore. Like, burn your bras. What all did you miss?
Yeah.
Like, it's not the deal.
Right.
You know, yeah, unfortunately, there's a bunch of people call you, like, names.
Yeah. Guess what? Get
I'm
over
sorry.
it. There are people that call people names every day. Sticks and stones will break.
It sucks.
Names will never hurt me.
Yeah, it sucks. People shouldn't do that. They're gonna.
Right.
Some of them may be your friends. Find new friends.
Right.
Like, your friends are supposed to support and encourage you.
Right.
As long as you're not harming someone else.
Right.
Who are you harming? Who are you harming?
Right.
Then you need new friends.
Right.
But yeah, so anyway, fun with relationship advice.
Always. I have one more. It doesn't fit our categories. It for Friday.
Oh, come on. You can't tease it like that.
Yeah, I can.
One more, but I think I'll save it for Friday.
All right. This is we'll do this one. Let me go and find it.
Yay. Twist, twist, twist. Come on. What we got?
Let me find it. Unfortunately, it's one of the busier Reddits, so it takes me a moment.
Yes, Brenda. I am a brat.
Yes, he is a brat in every sense of the word.
Like, come on. This is why I also say things like, if I'm your guardian angel, you're in trouble.
Well, true.
Like, I will get bored and I will bat you off a shelf. That's what I'll do. I am a cat as a guardian angel.
Speaking of that, you need to explain to our listeners they had a special.
Oh my God, we got so cracked up. I don't know how, like, I think we were just so exhausted, but we were having this conversation last night. And so we were talking about, like, randomly, like, stuff that happens in families and blah, blah, blah. We were watching a Jeffrey Dahmer special. Not really central to the story, but kind of the mood. You know, like, it was already kind of, you know, anything goes. And so anyway, we got on this topic of, like, the fact that, like, in 1984,
Right.
There were like a ton of deaths in my family. And like, I just kind of flippantly said, and then after that, apparently that funeral home never ran a special again on pre-need arrangements.
Mm-hmm.
And we like to have died, because your immediate response was they had a special. I know it. They had a special. That's from Jeannie Robertson. For those of you who aren't fans, you should be. She is eternally hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
We are still sad about her passing, but her humor lives on, and we do love that. But yeah, it was just, one of those moments, because it was just like, there were just so many deaths that year in my family tree. Like, you just see 84, 84, 84, 84, 84 over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was apparently like a homicidal toddler is what it would work out to. Or a funeral home had a special on pre-need arrangements, and like they bought it in January and then they bought it in February.
All right. So let's do this one, and then I'm going to take Dottie's question.
They were dying to get
the bargain.
Brenda.
Yep.
They were dying.
And then I'm going to do Dottie's question, and then that'll be the end of the night, guys.
All righty.
It's in your private chat.
Oh, I've got to read it. Okay.
Yes. I can't read it with a straight face.
Oh, I have to get that I'm 18 and over?
Uh-huh.
Oh, my God. All right. And I've got to click to see not safe for work. Okay, guys. My boss asked me to consider doing him favors to advance my position. After a meeting my boss and I had yesterday, I'm now literally so confused. Basically, my boss wanted to speak with me. And the thing is, I kind of felt this coming because for a longer period of time, he has made comments that seem to hint at things. He has complimented me, but not as much so of the work I'm doing as the person I am. And after the compliment, his eyes would linger. And at first I was like, oh, he probably just wants me to really feel that he means it. Until I noticed he never does that to anyone else. And I even asked a friend who works for him too, and he has never experienced it. Anyway, so the meeting. He called me in and said he wanted to have a chat about me and the company. After telling me he likes the way I've performed so far, he says he almost would instantly like to give me a promotion, plus better pay. But there's something that just needs a little push. At first, I thought he just wanted me to work for it just a little bit harder or have that one achievement which would make him promote me. But then he started talking about himself and specifically about how stressed he's been lately. And my first instinct was, of course, to let him know that I understood that and that it is normal given the position he's in. Then he tells me about how important it is to feel relaxed, even at the workplace, and that it is possible that I can be of assistance with that. And he ends it with that. Me offering a favor would greatly increase the chances of advancing. Then he literally sits down, leans on his desk, and only slightly, but not too obviously, spreads his legs a little and keeps eye contact. It does look normal, but considering what he just said, it feels weird. Mind you, his blinds were already down when we entered his office, and they almost never are. I basically smile and don't know what to say, and just before I'm about to speak, he says that I should think about it and pats me on the arm And I basically just smile and say, yeah, of course, and walk out. Literally, what the fuck, guys? What the hell was this? And what do I do? I see her problem.
Yes.
There's I don't think she's wrong. I do not think she's wrong about what he wants and how he wants it. And no. I also see that he has walked that line just so tightly.
Right.
That if she were to complain, it's gonna be difficult. That it's right there, but you don't have a like, bam, this is the moment. That it moved from like, this was a weird conversation and like, you know, slap on the wrist.
Right.
You need to do things differently.
Right.
Because your employees are getting this, you know, feeling.
Right.
Which would be probably about all he's going to get right now.
Right.
Versus like that one more word. One more, like this guy, like one, I'm going to say there's a bunch of people that have already been sexually harassed and, you know, potentially had sex with this boss, and a lot of complaints. So, I mean, he seems really coached.
Yeah.
Like, it's really, like, right there.
Yeah. See, I expect this out of the 80s. My suggestion is to get a 38. Preferably snub nose.
Oh, guns in the workplace. No.
Hey, I'm quite sure that you would get the promotion quite quickly if the rooster told the other rooster that he'll make him a hen.
There
this
is
baloney and bullshit. And what's worse, and you know, we've kind of talked about this a little bit tonight with the Johnny Depp case, and you know, now this topic that I was going to save for Friday, but go ahead and we'll talk about it tonight. Men get told that they don't get sexual harassment. Oh, it's not sexual harassment, it's flirting. You know, you two have a thing always. Bullshit.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a certain amount of like normal flirtatiousness that occurs frequently in offices. I'm not going to say every employee, every office, everywhere, all the time.
Right.
I'm sorry, but can we just go back to the point that unattractive to your potential employer people don't get hired?
Right.
Like, this is a known issue. That we have in employment is sexy people get jobs faster.
Right.
If your boss can see him or herself or their self fucking you,
right,
you are more likely to get employed.
Right.
Even if nothing ever comes out of that.
Right.
Like, even if they're a decent human, even if they don't say anything, even if they don't act like they are anything other than your boss, still know part of the reason that you got that job is often because you were considered fuckable.
Right.
Like, and that's a really ugly thing that happens. And it's, again, not every job, not every boss, exactly, but very frequently. Statistically, is very high likelihood.
Right.
The reason you got the job had less to do with your resume skills and qualifications and more about whether the company, the people that interviewed you thought you were fuckable.
Right.
Point blank.
Right.
It exists. It doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be a sexual harassment situation.
Right.
It's just back burner. Frequently, that's why you got the job.
Right.
Now with that, Even recognizing that, you have to decide what you want in your career and what you'll tolerate and what you won't. I already feel like this has gone to the point of, if you feel creeped out, you need to get out.
Yes.
As quickly as you can. Don't really care if you take less money to do it.
Right.
If this isn't what you want, if this isn't something you're reasonably consenting to, because you have someone in a power position using that power to manipulate you.
Yes.
Into doing something you would not, and it seems pretty clear, don't want to do.
Right.
That's an abusive situation. That's where that line is.
Right.
Even if that's not quite what he said, even if that's not quite what HR would hear out of it. Because again, there's just enough wiggle room here to go, oh, that's not what I meant. That's not what I said. You took it wrong, blah, blah, blah.
Like, he's had complaints before, so he's no house to have this conversation.
Has to have.
Yes.
Either that or this company does enough sexual harassment training that, by God, he videotaped it, studied it like it was a goddamn Bible.
Right.
Of how to walk the line.
Exactly.
Of, like, what can I say that communicates but doesn't, like, what can I say that insinuates that doesn't incriminate?
Exactly.
Like, because he's right there. Right there. Like, yeah, no, get out. That's all I've got, is get out as quick as you can. Do not say yes. Like, please don't say yes. Your career is worth so much more than fucking your boss.
Right. And bosses are never good lays, just for the record.
There's a lot that goes into that as well.
Right.
As a side note, because effectively this is a power dynamic relationship.
Right.
In which, if you cross this line, you abandon power.
Right.
Like that, like you become not just subordinate, but submissive. And this is the kind of submissive that it's all about them and has nothing to do with you. Other than some vague allusions it might help your career. Generally speaking, even if you want to go that route professionally, not that it's recommended, please know that you get your biggest gain in the beginning, and then every sexual encounter after that is diminishing returns. Like, they're not going to promote you out of their department. They're not going to promote you above them.
Right.
They're actually going to very strongly keep you within their purview.
Right.
So you're only going so far.
Right. One commenter says, buy him a back massager for his chair and smile when you give it to him and saying, this should help you relax. Another commenter says, in today's day and age, this would be enough to fire a person at his old job.
For some workplaces, yes. I'm going worst case scenario is, like, if you have an HR department that is kind of like, we just don't want a lawsuit, they would consider this wiggle.
Right.
Like, I mean, I'm not saying at any point that this person shouldn't be fired for what they've done.
Right.
Oh, I'm 100% there. There's still a lot of companies that are like, we just don't want the lawsuit. That's all. Right. And the only thing they care about sexual harassment is just don't sue us.
Right.
Like, they are perfectly fine with employees doing it. Just don't sue us.
Right. And I think it's baloney. I think that we should have already moved past this in the 80s.
I mean, I'm not saying it hasn't gotten better. I mean, at least he knows enough that what he's doing is wrong, that he's trying to insinuate without incriminating.
Mm-hmm.
I like on a marginal level, you can call that, you know, a of like improvement.
Okay.
I mean, it's less blatant.
True.
It's less the like 1980s slap you on the ass, call you cupcake, and tell you to blow me.
Mm-hmm.
It's less like in your
Right.
well, not necessarily in your face given the end of the story, but
Right.
it's less blatant, obvious, like slap the pervert and get the fuck out of there.
Right.
Is that a marginal improvement? Yeah, but is it the same shit, different like suit? Yeah.
Right.
Like it's all the same game.
Right.
It's just new rules, looks a little cleaner, isn't quite so abrasive.
But still scummy.
Still scummy. The whole setup's scummy.
Right.
That, like, if you're like, how much easier would the world be if we could just all get hired while we're both blindfolded?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, you have no clue. You don't know who you're hiring. You have no clue. No idea. Who meets the qualifications? Who has the ability to do the job?
Right.
Who's going to make the company money? Who's, you know, hire that.
Right.
Whomever, whatever, however they identify, gender, race, whatever, hire that person.
Mm-hmm.
Not just like the stupid idea of an in-person interview, which is basically to off a site figure out someone's age, race, gender,
Mm-hmm.
fuckability, and, you know, try to get a handle on their personality.
Right.
That's, I mean, the only one of those that's slightly valid is personality.
Right.
And that's still used wrong.
Right.
Like, that's all I've ever seen an in-person interview as.
I would agree. It's also sometimes normally, and I've been reading one of our authors that came on's book again, and she doesn't look at resumes. She doesn't look at her interview. She looks at a score on a test.
Oh, but which test?
You know, the Hansberg exam.
Okay, is that that sounds familiar as that workplace personality
Yes.
testing? Oh, see, sometimes those exactly I have an issue with.
Mm-hmm.
Not because they'll do exactly what a company wants them to do.
Right.
Like, now that does require a company to be real blatantly honest.
Right.
About who is the best candidate for this job.
Right.
You'd be surprised the number of jobs that love sociopaths.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, love them. Like that's the score they're looking for, is a high score in sociopathy. They feel that they can rule themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Like their employee handbook can be set up to cover everything.
Right.
And just hire the person who is going to ruthlessly make as much money as humanly possible for themselves and just benefit the company as a side effect.
Right.
Companies make that choice a lot. It's not a good one.
Right.
And it kind of shows itself when that's the last person you want to hire for like IT.
Right.
Don't ever hire that person for IT. I will tell you right now, they will lock your shit and walk away and blackmail you for the passwords.
Right.
It's happened to a lot of people in a lot of companies. Sociopathy and IT, bad combo.
Right.
Great for sales and marketing, bad. Well, can be if all you care about is money.
Right.
That's where I have problems with those tests.
Right.
But again, that's the only legitimate version of an in-person interview or doing the testing.
Right.
Is figuring out someone's personality. Like, do you jive with this? Are you the kind of person we need? Are you going to cry every 5 minutes when someone screams at you? Because that's all we have
Right.
all day long.
Right.
Are yelly, screamy people. Or, like, how do you mesh? It's the
Right.
only legitimate one in the mix.
Right.
So, yeah. I don't know. Pet peeves I have with the interview process.
Yeah, no. Pet peeves in general. But I was like, is this the 1980s? Was this posted at the beginning of Reddit? No, this was posted today.
Yeah. And it's just sad, like 40 some years on.
Mm-hmm.
Since like the dawn of the idea that
Right.
And I'm not saying that it was ever right. I'm
Right.
just saying like the final beginning of going, this is so fucking wrong, it has to stop.
Right.
Like, this shit's over, we're done, everyone's done.
Right.
Most everyone's done. There's still some assholes. The fact we haven't weeded that out also goes back to this: we keep hiring sociopaths.
Well, not only that, but we also have this big idea that it is only women that get sexually harassed, that it is only straight men that do it.
Oh God, no.
No. I've been sexually harassed by men and women in the workplace and not the bar. I
think it's one point in which I'm so oblivious.
Right.
If I have ever been sexually harassed at work, I don't know it.
I mean, you get sexually harassed at work every day. You work with me.
Okay, but outside of working with you. Like, okay, yeah, this is daily. I know I'm being sexually harassed at work by you. I'm aware. Like, I'm well aware. And again, speaks to the... No, never mind. I was going to make a horrible joke about the diminishing returns thing. No career advancement here at all. I'm teasing. It's so bad. But no, as in typical, average, normal, not self-employed, not working with my partner, work experiences. If I have been sexually harassed, I honest to God don't know it in that context.
Right.
I have, however, been sexually assaulted in a bar and just about started a fight. And that should tell you how bad the sexual harassment was, because I'm not one to throw the first punch. I will end a fight gladly.
Right.
I don't start them. Like, that's not... I'm like, let's just all go out and have a great time and everyone goes home safely. Like, that's it. That's for the few times I go to the bar, that's my goal. That's it, the whole thing.
Well, I hope to change some of your experiences at bars. But no, yeah, that is the pro about the Johnny Depp case. It is publicly bringing into the fact that men can be abused, are abused, domestically and non-domestically. I'm waiting for a good male lawsuit on sexual harassment. I was hoping Me Too movement would have brought some of that out, but we didn't see much of it.
I think we're starting to. I think we have the biggest stumbling block is much like I just said. Like, if I've been sexually harassed, I don't know it. Right. I think there's a lot of people that, in much the same way that it took a while for there to be this, like, you go to, like, you've been employed, you've worked for years, you've gotten used to being slapped on the ass and called honey and, treated like a submissive and breedable for so long that, like, that's just the world you live in. And to have that dawning realization that, one, the reason that it felt wrong when it started was because it is wrong, and there's other people that also think this is wrong and it shouldn't happen. That takes a moment to sink in. With like, this is your world, this is what you've been through, this is what you dealt with, this is life, this is Tuesday. This is Tuesday. To get comfortable with the idea that it never should have been Tuesday.
Right.
It should have been a horrible situation which you were justified in slapping the motherfucking piss out of someone and telling them to fuck off.
Right. And, or the, slapping on the MTA. If I had a nickel for every time I rode the MTA, and I'm not talking about the train system, I'd be a rich man. But the walking up and massaging the shoulders and drifting a little farther than you should go.
Well, and I think we also, like, sexual harassment assumes it's sexual. It doesn't always have to be. It's literally any action that makes you feel physically uncomfortable, threatened, or incapable of rejecting that action. I mean, I'm sorry. I will say I have had moments in which, no, I don't think someone was attempting to sexually harass me. But I've also had that moment of like, please keep your fucking hands to yourself. Like, no. I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what you think you're doing.
Right.
I don't know if you think you're being kind or mothering or what the hell you think you're being.
Right.
I need you to back up. Like, I'm here for many, many reasons. Most of them involve work and money. Zero, and I mean zero, involve being physically touched by someone that I work with, for, or otherwise.
Right.
It's like, no. Like, that I have had happen. Like, that is a thing that I have noticed, that, like, we instantly can have this guttural reaction to the male touches the female, but then reverse the genders there, and it's always considered harmless, not a big deal. Like, we can dismiss that a lot, and I'm like, no, I'm not comfortable, no. I don't want to be touched at work, even same sex. No, that's not why I'm here. Like, my bedroom does not fit in this fucking cubicle. So anything you want to do that would fit into a bedroom context doesn't occur here. It doesn't fit. This is the wrong box. Like, no. I think we, again, are at that dawning of like, oh. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
Oh, so here we go. My 6'7" male cousin was abused by his wife. Looking at his size, people would just laugh and not believe him. So this cousin was a social worker, was automatically assumed that he was guilty before the trial even started.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not sure which.
It's two separate comments.
Okay,
my social worker cousin automatically assumed he was guilty before the trial even started.
Okay, that's talking about the Johnny Depp situation. Yeah, that's another part of this, is that we are really, and I struggle with this one. If you've been sexually assaulted or raped, I want someone to believe you. I really do. I don't want someone dismissing it and explaining it to you and telling you how you're wrong and whatever. Feel accepted, feel, capable of expressing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
and seeking the support and services and prosecution and whatever you need, if
Right.
that's the route you choose to go or not, whatever you need.
Right.
I'm conflicted with that, and that's regardless of gender
Mm-hmm.
or gender non-binary or whatever, may be. On the other hand, I struggle with situations in which we presume someone guilty of doing something
Right.
until we can show they did it.
Right.
Like, just to immediately go guilty.
Right.
I struggle with those two things because
Right.
they're almost mutually exclusive
Right.
elements in some situations. Like, I don't want to be the problem on either side.
Right.
Like, I don't want to be the problem that sends someone to prison for something they didn't do.
Right.
I don't want to be part of the problem that doesn't believe someone when they, one person after another, after another, after another, after another. Like, that it has to develop that kind of synergy
Mm-hmm.
that it takes, like, how many fucking women to goddamn convict Bill Cosby?
Right.
Because 1 just wasn't believable enough, and 2 seemed like a fluke, and then 3 seemed like, well, they're just all in it for the money. And then, 4 and 5 and 6, and like,
I'm
Jesus
still upset
fucking
over the
Christ.
Cosby case. That case was a flop.
Yeah. There were lots of
Right.
malfunctions there, but just the sheer fact
Mm-hmm.
that, like, this wasn't his first time at the rodeo.
Mm-hmm.
This wasn't the first woman or the, like, 10th woman even, I think. I
Right.
think it was, like, what? Like, all said and done, wasn't it, like, 40 women or something that all came forward?
All came forward.
Like, I mean, it just, like, and you're sitting there going, this spanned decades.
Right.
Like, I mean, and again, understanding it took a while to get here.
Right.
Like, so to speak, he got lucky in the sense that different time period, no one was going to believe her.
Right.
You're a star and a man.
Mm-hmm.
She's a woman. She's confused.
Right.
But, like, we're going back to what, like the 50s?
Right.
So that occurred in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s and the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s. And then we have to hit the 2010s when he's 80 some fucking years old. And, like, then finally, now there's enough evidence.
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit.
Right.
Like, that's fucked up.
Right.
I also wouldn't want to send him to prison without it being legitimate. Obviously, that was. Right. I'm saying, but if someone just comes forward and, like, they make an allegation, that's an allegation. People make allegations all the time.
Right.
What can you prove in a court of law to convict someone?
Right.
I think the only redeeming thing here is understanding the difference between prove it to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, show me the pattern. Show me something.
Right.
And not just assuming one or the other.
Well, not only that, but not just assuming that because of your gender or your presented gender that you're wrong.
Right. Well, exactly. And that is part of the predominant thing, is much like Brenda's talking about, people just laughed it off because who would believe a 6'7" man's being abused? That's a problem.
Yeah. But in the society that we live in, if his 5'2" wife called and said he slapped me, 7 cops would have done chucked him in the back of the car, not nicely. And took him down.
Well,
again, and that's what it looks like with Johnny Depp has occurred here, is that, he knew that his career would be ended. And y'all guys got to remember, they're already divorced. She didn't donate her divorce settle as promised. She then turned around and wrote a newspaper article, actually, calling him an abuser, and he lost a lot of work and a lot of business because society says, no, we don't want to work with abusers. Then why does she have a contract with Aquaman? She is already an abuser. Once on record.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're up to twice. Now on court record.
Yeah. Again, we struggle to believe.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I think, the bigger problem.
Right.
Is this immediate rush to choose who you believe, who you don't.
Right.
And being unwilling to believe.
Right.
Unwilling to believe she was abused, unwilling to believe he was abused, unwilling to believe that he could be abusive, unwilling to believe she could be abusive.
Right.
And that maybe it's somewhere in a mix.
Right.
Maybe. This is a problem we also see in a lot of domestic violence or abusive relationships. And it's sometimes a really big deal.
Right.
Is that when you have abuse, a long-standing history of multiple domestic violence instances, people crack.
Yeah.
You know, you can be hit 9 times out of 10.
Right.
And then one time you just, that's it. I ain't fucking taking it anymore. I like something pushed you. And because you're already in a physically violent situation,
right,
you become the aggressor.
Mm-hmm.
Because here's the weird thing about our like basic bioprogramming. If you are continually presented with a situation in which violence is the answer, like
Mm-hmm.
that's what you deal with, eventually it becomes your answer too.
Mm-hmm.
The difference can often be whether or not the remorse that you feel is faked to manipulate someone else into staying,
Mm-hmm.
or is genuinely, I know that was wrong. I shouldn't have done that. That was not how I should have acted. That was, you know, you recognize harm caused to another human being. Right. That's the separator often between abuser
right,
and abused.
Right.
Not just what you did in any one given situation, because there are a lot of people in abusive relationships that are abused,
Mm-hmm.
that are sometimes labeled the abuser,
Mm-hmm.
or sometimes manipulated into feeling like it was just a rough relationship.
Right.
You know, that it was just rough sex kind of concept.
Mm-hmm.
Because they lashed out once,
right,
or twice, or 3 times, or maybe even 30.
Right.
Whatever. But when you're in this dog-eat-dog relationship, right, it's inevitable. You're going to push someone that when the only thing they know is the hand they feed, that they use to feed someone bites them.
Mm-hmm.
I've fucked up the analogy, but you get where I'm going. You start biting back.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I can't communicate with you like a normal human being over and over and over again, and all
Mm-hmm.
you do is hit me,
Mm-hmm.
what happens when I finally hit my limit and I can't communicate any better?
Right. And the other thing is, and you know, Johnny Depp would leave the room and she would follow and try to continue the argument. Don't ever do that. Don't ever do that. There's a reason that person is leaving the room.
There's a reason that person's leaving the room, and more importantly, the people that follow.
Mm-hmm.
That's almost a red flag to me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it is a red flag to me. If you can't accept that someone's best option in a situation is to walk the fuck away,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. You have decided,
mm-hmm.
as unpopular as the opinion may be, you have decided that you want to continue to escalate this situation and provoke someone. At the point in which someone walks away,
right,
they have said physically,
mm-hmm.
No, I'm done. I can't do anymore.
Right.
I'm out.
Right.
You let that. You have to, as a human being, let that happen.
Right. And there are
Follow.
times that you need to walk away to collect your thoughts, to collect your ideas, because you will keep bombing each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like fucking NASA dropping nuclear weapons.
Well, and for a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
typically one would have said for a lot of men, walking away, but it should be true for women and any gender.
Mm-hmm.
When you're walking away, it's because you only have one last defense,
Right.
which is physical.
Mm-hmm.
To somehow remove this problem,
Right.
this situation, this anger, this screaming, this feeling of being trapped and cornered and forced and manipulated and whatever you're feeling. It's often hard to identify.
Right.
Your body is physically saying,
Right.
get me out of here.
Right.
If that's where you are in a situation,
Mm-hmm.
what do you think happens next?
Yeah.
Like, why are you going to follow this person who is physically forced to move away from you?
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're identifying physically.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have anything left.
Right.
Nothing. Gas tank's empty. Everything else I've got is physical.
Right. Totally agree. Totally agree.
Yeah.
That's why if I get to a point, I'm walking away. Well, guys, we're walking away, but we're not mad. We'll be back Thursday night with coffee and tea, and of course, Miss Dottie will be my co-host.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, me and Joe will be back with hot topics, possibly some more covering of the Dottie. I almost said the Dottie death trial, the Johnny death trial. And we'll be kind of laughing along. Of course, I really think that he had a really good lawyer today.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I did do a live stream plan with me.
Wow.
Let baristas, if you got to watch that either during the live or after, let me know if you like that better than you like the videos. Which do you like better, the live streaming of my planning or the video of my planning?
Cool. So, of course, we do want to thank our baristas. We really appreciate your support. Like, you guys are awesome. And I'm just waiting for that list to scroll around so I don't miss anyone, because we never want to miss any of you guys. You're special and wonderful to us. Mm-hmm. You do make the show possible. So we do thank you for that. But specifically, we want to thank our supporters, Beverly Walker, Mika G, Kathy, Mary Winfield, Brenda Bryant, Ashley Guest, Shannon C, Shannon D, the ever wonderful Lady Gwendolyn, Charles Shaw, and Dottie the Psychic. If you'd like to learn more about us, the show, or how you too can become one of our Patreon sponsors, please visit us at pcspnetwork.com.
Yes. And you guys be safe, be kind to each other. Don't destroy anything unless it's necessary. And, take care of each other. Absolutely. All right. See you Thursday.
Night.